make a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
How's it going, everybody? It's Nick Atkin on South China Morning Post, scmp.com/MMA. This is Post Fight, a late night edition of Post Fight. It's 10:45 in Hong Kong. I got a very special guest today. It's Mr. Chatri Sityodtong, the founder and CEO of One Championship over in Singapore. Chatri, how's everything going, man?
Hey, Nick, how's it going, man?
Yeah, really good, dude. Oh, no worries, no worries. Great to have you. Been meaning to have you on the show for a long time. Thanks so much for coming on. I guess, yeah, my first question, it's been a crazy year for you guys. What's the state of play? Yeah.
I like that poster. I like that poster you have in the back, right behind you, man.
Yeah.
Did you just stage that because you're of our call, or do you always have that there?
I've got a couple of programs from Century Tokyo Show.
Yeah,
I got the other one, part 2, is behind me on this side. Maybe you can see it if I expand the screen. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, brother. I love it, man.
No, what I need is some Funko Pops. You know, when are you going to release the Funkos? Because I've got Thor here. Not. This is the Avengers. I need some One Championship Funko Pops. I saw you had an Angela Lee toy. Is that a real thing? What's going on with that?
Right. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming out for our fans. You know, we've kept a lot of things under wraps, and you'll see in the next few months, in the next couple of years. Actually, I think next couple of weeks we're going to make some big announcements about our video game and all that other stuff. So actually the first person to know. So we're going to make a big major announcement.
Can you tell me anything? Because I love playing the video games. I've got my PS4 here. Is it going to be on all platforms? Who's making the game? Have you got any details for me?
You're going to have to wait because we're literally, I believe both companies are drafting the press release as we speak. I can say it's a major global video game developer who's going to develop the One Championship game. Yeah.
All right. I look forward to it. What about the toys, the Angela Lee? Have you got a brand on board for that one?
Yeah. So that's a little bit more earlier stage. We're just testing a bunch of different things right now. So, but again, all that stuff is in the pipeline.
Awesome. Wow. Can't wait to see it, man. I'll get a couple over here in the background. All right. So yeah, you made your big return to Bangkok. What was your take on the shows you've had in Bangkok so far? Some major developments. Stan Fairtex losing her Muay Thai title. It's been a crazy few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, I think for us, the most important thing was just to get back into action. So in June, we actually had a show in China. And then I think end of June was our comeback for Bangkok events, and then July and August and September. But you know, borders are closed all over Asia. So the biggest challenge has been that it's a little bit different than the States or Europe, et cetera. Literally every country in Asia has closed its borders, and so it's very, very difficult to stage global events that we normally do. So. We're lucky we have some deep connections in Thailand. Obviously, I'm from there. And so we were able to, with the government's help, throw a bunch of events. But they were effectively local cards, if you think about it, meaning that we were using Thai athletes and foreign athletes who lived in Thailand. So there was no border requirement. So that was the trickiest part. But you see, we have a lot of athletes all over the world. And so we've been debottlenecking again. Nick, you're going to see some major announcements. I believe next week we'll announce the return of our mega events and all that stuff. And we'll announce some big things happening in October. I think Twitter leaked some stuff out today, this morning. I'll just say, you know, I don't know how Twitter does it, but there's some big things happening. We've been working with a lot of governments. Obviously, One Channel, we have a lot of good relationships around Asia, and so you're going to see some really cool stuff coming out of One Championship in the coming weeks.
Yeah, you talk about Twitter. I've been seeing a few rumors today that maybe there's going to be a show in Singapore in October. And Aung La said he's already packing his bags. He's ready to go. If you're going to put him in, can you give me any more details? Everyone wants to know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I'll break it with you first. There's going to be some major events in October. We're going to be announcing again, like I said, in the coming weeks. And I will give you the first news break. Aung La will be defending his title.
Man.
Yeah. So I give it to you there, but I don't want to reveal the rest of the card, all that stuff, the dates and all that stuff. Although Twitter Twitter. I don't know how the hell they find out, but somehow, you know.
Hey, it wasn't me. I didn't know. I didn't say anything. What? So is Aung La going to defend against Vitaly Bigdash, because that was the scheduled fight before the pandemic happened, the trilogy with Vitaly, or has he got a new opponent?
No, well, actually, his first opponent that he was going to defend before the pandemic was Reinier De Ridder, the undefeated Dutch fighter. But Ridder was injured from his last fight, and that's why we went with Vitaly Bigdash. But I think both are worthy opponents. I think people want to see a trilogy fight between Vitaly Bigdash and Aung La N Sang. They're one apiece. That's a big fight. But I think also, undefeated Reinier De Ridder, that's going to be a really interesting fight for Aung La as well. So I can announce, that Aung La will be defending his title against Reinier De Ridder, but I don't want to divulge the rest of the card or the exact date yet. We have it solidified, but I just don't feel ready to announce anything yet officially.
You must have a backlog of fighters all wanting to fight. Is everyone asking you, can I get on this card? Are you going to have a few cards in Singapore? Are you going to stay there for a few months?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes. Again, like I said, the global stars are back. We're going to have some mega cards coming up. A lot of fun stuff, whether it's MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, etc. Our global events are back.
Is that taking some work with the government to allow travel from the US? Because Aung La lives in Florida, obviously. A lot of your champions live in the US. So is that a hurdle you've been able to overcome now? Because that potentially opens up a lot of big fights, doesn't it?
Yeah. So like I said, I'll break it with you, Nick. Global events are back. I'll be making formal announcements again in the coming week. Probably in about a week, and hopefully it'll make some big noise and good stuff. But our fans can expect more local events, but also more global events, and we'll increase the pace of our events and go full throttle.
So are these going to be the Infinity cards? Are you still keeping with that? Because you had a few cards planned.
No, so they're not going to be quite Infinity, but they're going to be stacked with world title fights across MMA, Muay Thai, and kickboxing, but not quite the Infinity level. Like in the Infinity level, we have a minimum of 3 world title fights, minimum of 12 world champions. It's a new product for us, and we want to do it right. So initially, before the pandemic, the first Infinity was DJ, right? As you know, back in February, but unfortunately, COVID hit and we weren't able to pull it off. And so when Infinity 1 comes in, it'll be one level above anything you've ever seen in one championship, including 1 century. So, and we just came out with the product we said, look, what kind of product can we make that will blow people away and be a global product where fans of all martial arts will want to watch? And we came in with a minimum threshold of 3 world title fights, 12 world champions. But that's a minimum, right? So that's what we say publicly. But I can tell you that our Infinity event that was planned, was super stacked, and it's unfortunate, But again, the first Infinity, when it comes out, it's going to make a big, big splash because it's bigger than 1 century, bigger than anything one champion's ever done.
What's going on with the next bunch of shows in China? Are they still going to go ahead? Do you have any update on that? Sorry.
Yeah. So we will announce China events. I don't want to give the dates, but it's going to be in November. So like I said, our local and global events are now full swing underway. We've cracked the problem, and so knock on wood that there isn't some crazy spike that causes governments to clamp down even more. But we've been working with we've been working with national governments in various countries to debottleneck the situation. And so, like I said, we're going to have major announcements, not only in the coming week, but in the coming weeks, we'll have announcement after announcement.
Well, we were speaking to Eddie Alvarez a couple of weeks ago, and he said he's been told he's going to fight before the end of the year. He seemed to think it might happen in the US. Is that a possibility? You guys are going to do this US show this year, or what? Maybe Eddie's got the wrong idea. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that Eddie is not far off. But again, a few things have to go our way before we decide to pull the final trigger. But like I said, our local and global events are back in a big way, and we've cracked it in a few countries. So you'll see announcements, and so I'd love to see Eddie eventually contend for the title. I think Eddie Alvarez versus Christian Lee would be a phenomenal fight. It would be the young lion against the grizzled, veteran. Although I wouldn't put Eddie in the veteran category yet. Eddie still has his prime days ahead of him. He's gone through ups and downs, and I think he's going to have a big surge here because he really wants to be the first person ever to secure world titles of the three major global organizations, right? UFC, One Championship, and Bellator. And obviously he's conquered UFC and Bellator, and so he wants to conquer the One Championship world title. And then he's the only person on the planet to have conquered all three global, the major global organizations.
So would you be willing to give him the next shot at Christian, or do you think he's got to go through a guy in the top five first, like Daggy?
Well, okay. So that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I meant about Eddie not being far off. I still think he needs another one or two fights, because remember his debut, he got knocked out in the first round, and he was losing to Edward Falayan decisively, right? Everyone would agree that. And before he staged the biggest comeback possibly of his career. And so kudos to Eddie. Eddie's a world champion. I love him, a great guy. But has he proven himself amongst the best in One Championship? Not yet. But can he be? Definitely. Eddie's phenomenal martial artist, incredible athlete. And if he has his mind right, he can beat anybody in the world. So, but Eddie has shown throughout his career when he's on, his mind is 100% sharp. He can crush anybody, but he's had lapses in mental, belief throughout his career.
Yeah, he seemed a little bit, I wouldn't say upset, but maybe confused but he wasn't in the rankings. Do you think maybe the One Championship rankings, that lightweight division is perhaps the one division where you could do a top 10, because it's so stacked, isn't it? And
I think the panel has like 22 different people, a journalist. I don't know, Nick, are you on the panel? I think you might be,
I am
right?
on it. Yeah, I'm on it, but we haven't had the chance to do it yet because of the pandemic. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think the first one went with just, I think 17, 18 of the panelists, whatever it is, around the world, actually. And they didn't rank Eddie in the top five. Personally, what I would rank him, I would probably put him in the top five. But again, I don't think the rankings were far off from reality. Like Eddie's probably, number 7, around there, 7 to 5. And it's, people could argue he's 5, people could argue he's 7. I think he's definitely in the top 10, but the lightweight division in One Championship is stacked, super stacked.
Yeah, I mean, and another division that's a bit stacked, I think Angela Lee, she's got a couple of challenges now, atomweight. What do you think after the events of the new breed? Do you think Denise Zamboanga is definitely the number one contender? And what about Stamp Fairtex? Because I know Angela had a bit of, she set out, she's, threw the gauntlet down for a super fight with Stamp. Who would you put against Angela next?
I think Denise has earned the number one contender spot, definitely. I think she's 7-0, 8-0, but she's steamrolled everybody. And what I like about Denise is she's so sweet outside of the ring and the cage, but in the arena, my goodness, she's like goes 100 miles an hour, like endless cardio, and super aggression. And I can see Denise in the future being a world champion. I still wonder, her striking is still a little bit low level. Her grappling is pretty good, but her aggression and her size for the weight division is what separates her.
I mean, I hate to ask you, is that one we might see in Singapore in October?
You got to wait.
Yeah. All right.
We'll have a lot of world title fights in October. Knock on wood. Again, we're just finalizing a few little details. It's kind of tricky because it's one thing to solve everything with the governments, but then you realize also that there's a limited number of flights. because, borders are closed, right? So we got to, we're debottlenecking everything. It looks pretty good, but I don't want to make any major announcement until, so I just give you a sneak peek. Aung La is defending his title, but there's multiple things happening in multiple countries that we're trying to get done.
Well, that's awesome. I guess there's been a huge development as well I have to ask you about with the partnership with Ali Abdelaziz. About a month ago, it was announced, and he's brought in a couple of new heavyweights, and Ali suggested maybe a heavyweight Grand Prix. Is that something you'd like to do with including Brandon or the winner faces Brandon Vera?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have been obviously signing a lot of heavyweights. I would argue that heavyweight division is definitely not one of ONE Championship's strongest divisions, and so the plan is to make it very, very strong. And I think a heavyweight Grand Prix would be amazing. But again, we have to have the right 8 athletes to do it, and so I don't want to jump the gun. I think a division that might be more exciting. If I have to think about another World Grand Prix, right? I think the featherweight division of the kickboxing division. I mean, we literally have 1 through 10 ranked, including the pound for pound number 1, Georgia Petrosian. That is probably the most stacked division in the history of kickboxing, literally in the history of pound for pound. It's just it's a crazy division, right? The 70 kilogram division. But I also see, a potential World Grand Prix in the atomweight division. There's a lot of female atomweight division, right? I think there's a lot of exciting bouts there that we could do, an 8-person Grand Prix. So there's a few ideas, and we will also be announcing our World Grand Prix also very in the near future.
And I know you can't give me.
I probably shouldn't have given you all these clues, Nick. But you know what? It's our first interview together, so I'll give you a couple of these. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm now going to be up writing stories until 4 a.m. Thanks, man. It's okay. I had to ask you as well. You had a couple of other big title fights scheduled before the pandemic hit. So would Brandon still? I know you can't tell me when it's going to be. Would Brandon Vera still defend the title against Arj Singh Bhullar?
Yeah. Yes. So Brandon Vera's next fight is Arjun Bhullar. They both signed. They're ready to go. We were supposed to do that in May before the pandemic, but then Brandon had just had a baby, so we want to give him a little bit of time to enjoy the birth of his child and spend time with his family. But I do envision Brandon defending his title this year against Arjun Bhullar.
And what about Martin Nguyen against Tan Lee? Is that still on?
Man, you're good. That fight is happening this year as well.
Okay, because I know Gary Tonon's knocking on the door. He wants a title shot. Does Gary need another win, you think?
Gary's right there. The tricky thing about Gary is, so we had we were trying to get him fights for at least 4 or 5 months before the pandemic, but nobody wants to fight him. He's just one of those guys that is just so dangerous everywhere. He's so explosive, and he actually hits very hard. And on top of it, obviously his leg locks are insane. His ground game's insane. But he's just an explosive athlete, definitely world championship caliber. I think on any given day, he could give any lightweight in the world of any organization a hard time because, again, he's so deadly with his leg locks. And, in any kind of position, he can be scrambles. He's incredible. And his striking is improving. I don't think his striking is world class yet, but, he hits hard. And
what about? I heard rumors of. Sorry to just go through all the divisions. Because it's the first time I've had you on the show. I just want to ask about Kevin Bellingham against Bibiano Fernandez. Are we going to get like the final installment of that, or is that you're looking to move on from that fight?
No, I think Kevin's going to have to earn another title shot, but of course the world wants to see them go at it one more time, definitely, because it's razor thin, and obviously Bibi's won by finishes as well. But all their fights have been just so exciting, right? So I think Kevin's got to win a couple before we can consider that. But Kevin on any given day is a very, very dangerous contender for anybody, right? Yeah, incredible striking, cardio, knockout power, speed. He's got those, Team Lakai kicks and spinning kicks. Yeah, and he's got great takedown defense now, as all the Team Lakai guys do. So yeah, he's a threat any day.
Yeah, and to just keep on with this, sorry, Demetrius is going to get that shot at Adriano Moraes, right?
Yes, definitely. Again, but we want to do that at an Infinity event. And so I can tell you October is not going to be the first debut, or rather the debut of Infinity, but we'd love to do DJ and Adriano Moraes with our first Infinity event, which again, knock on wood, all these government discussions we've been having, and airline discussions, that everything comes together, right?
Well, I'm sure there's a bunch of other fights I could ask you about, but I can't even think anymore off the top of my head. But just also, finally, a few people want to know, I guess, about the Apprentice. What's going on? Because we've heard a few announcements here and there. A few of the stars are going to be on. Have you got any more updates for us about when the show is going to air?
Yeah, so production kicks off at the end of October, and it will feature not only 12 superstar CEOs, or entrepreneurs, for lack of a better word. For example, the founder CEO of Grab, which is Southeast Asia's biggest startup at $14 billion in valuation. And then we're also having 12 world champions, martial artists, which we haven't announced yet. And some of them are going to surprise people. I believe we're going to announce that also next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Awesome. I look forward to all the announcements, man.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot has been going on behind the scenes. I'm so fortunate to have an incredible team that is just gunning. The world is suffering from its worst global crisis in 100 years. And I can tell you every day my team is pushing hard, and we have so many things in the pipeline that we haven't announced that will blow people away. So, yeah, I mean, it's not just going to be one championship athletes in the Apprentice, but it's generally going to be a crazy, crazy Apprentice. So forget about the Apprentice that you've heard about or seen before. The only thing that's the same about the Apprentice is the name Apprentice, and the $250,000 winner gets to be my protege. Other than that, the show is completely different. That's why we're having 12 world champion martial artists come join the show. There's going to be a lot of crazy adventure challenges that are physical. There's also going to be business challenges like the Apprentice. So it's going to be mind, body, and spirit. The person who's going to win this thing and be my protege is going to be the toughest. I mean, this is by far the world's toughest apprentice in history, because we are going to test the limits, not just of how smart you are or how capable your business, but how tough are you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And there's some episodes where, we plan to push the limits, and probably a lot of, I don't think a single contestant will get through without crying. How about that? Genuinely.
Well, all right. What about
crazy.
We got a New Breed 2 coming up on Friday as well. I think the debut of Supergirl, whose sister Wonder Girl made made her debut and had 2 wins back to back. What have you made of her debut, and what can fans expect from Supergirl?
Wonder Girl and Supergirl are obviously sisters, and they are the best female Thai athletes. World championship caliber, can take out anybody pound for pound around the world in striking. Literally, you take any martial art in the world that's stand up, and these girls will they're just killers. I think Nat Wonder Girl has a real shot at being a world champion. Not only has incredible technique, but when you wear 4-ounce gloves and she hits like a truck, as you've seen. She has very nasty elbows as well, and she's a full package. Her sister has incredible knees, and her sister is debuting at 16 years old, which is crazy. But as you know, in Thailand, The first pro fights for many of the Muay Thai athletes is 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. So, you know, both Wonder Girl and Supergirl are phenoms, and super exciting fighting styles. So a huge, bright future. I see them, you know, the sisters could both be world champions.
All right. Well, if you've got a final message to say to the fans who've been waiting for, I know we've had a few shows, but they've been quite Muay Thai heavy. The fans who want to see the MMA fights, they want to see all the spectacle.
Right.
What have you got to say to everyone who's been waiting so patiently?
Next month, One Championship is going to be back in a huge way. Our global show, global stars, world title fights across all the different martial arts. We're going to come back in a huge way. So going forward, you're going to see, you know, more local events, but more global events. And knock on wood that we're able to stage our first Infinity event as well.
All right. Thanks so much. We've packed a lot in there. I could keep talking for ages, but you know, you've got to go. I've got to go write all this news up. So thanks, Chatri, man. I appreciate you coming on this show. Great to talk. Hope we can talk again soon. And
Yeah, no.
can't wait to see the fights, man.
Bro, I enjoyed it, and thank you for all your good work. You know, I follow a lot of stuff, a lot of your articles. I follow, you know, a lot of your videos, and the fact that, Nick, you built it from scratch and it's starting to get a real following with your, you know, incredible reporting and positivity. And so I think you're doing great to build martial arts here in Asia. So I appreciate it. I really appreciate it, man.
It means a lot. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we speak again soon, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey guys, Sasha Platnikoff here, letting you know to tune in to SCMP Post Fight for all your weekly martial arts news.